Hi, this is Johanna Sawyer Clausen, and I'm going to be doing an article review for Digitally Aided Education Using Students' Own Electronic Gear by Matt Richtel, and this is for Technology Tools for Teachers, topic number 9. So BYOT or BYOD is build or bring your own technology or bring your own device. And the article starts out mentioning the tech or no tech debate. Now that's referencing the debate around whether or not technology is even a good teaching tool or a good learning tool in schools. But now there's an even bigger, greater controversy, and that's allowing students to bring their own technology or bring their own devices. And these devices could be student-owned smartphones, laptops, tablets, even game consoles, as long as they're able to access the internet and able to put certain or various apps on there, able to get on the internet and look at different things that they need to research. So for those that want to bring, proponents of the initiative claim that BYOT is the easiest way to use the newest learning apps. Now, this is because these students would already have or be able to upload these new apps as well as any of the add-ons that would be necessary. This way, schools wouldn't have to do that. They wouldn't have to go through every single device and constantly update them. So that saves the school money. They wouldn't have to have computers for each student. They would with BYOT, students would be able to bring in their own and then perhaps supplement for those that do not have devices. It also takes advantage of student attachment to their personal devices. Kids like using their own stuff, and they already are experienced in using their own equipment, so there's really no training involved, or not a whole lot of training involved. Because of this, student engagement is increased. They're able to not only are they using technology, which is going to engage them further, but they're using their own technology. They can pull up devices apps that perhaps the teacher hasn't used before, or something that they find more interesting. So they're able to be engaged a little bit more. There are also increased collaboration. Now, this could either be through sharing those personal devices or utilizing things like Google, which allows you to work on the same PowerPoint or the same document at the same time. It's also very popular among school districts. The author notes various places in Florida and Texas where school districts are utilizing these very successfully, and it's saving those districts time and money. And there are people that believe it's the future of tech in the classroom. And depending on the grade level, I can see how this could be true, particularly for older students or for those going on to college that are going to need their own technology. This is definitely the wave of the future. However, there are opponents of the BYOT initiative, and they claim and worry that it's just a quick budget fix. This is being implemented because school districts lack funds. And so they're willing to allow students to bring in other devices without there being any hard data evidencing that technology is beneficial in the classroom and that having a student's own technology would be beneficial. And that hit the next point there. There's no evidence that students using different devices would increase learning. It's potentially counterproductive for teachers because a teacher will have to find apps that would work on various devices. And there are some devices, I know my Kindle will not, or my Kindle Fire will not open up certain apps that perhaps someone with an iPad would, or an iPhone. So that's one thing that teachers would have to worry about. Another is it would create more work for teachers and being able to check those things. And it's a flip-flopping of the previous no personal devices rules in school. I know at my school we have a no cell phone policy, and for good reason. The students would continually text in class rather than listen to the assignment. There's also some potential tech problems. If a student doesn't have a charger, something as simple as having a charger, and their device dies, well, if that's not something that the school has, that student would be kind of out of luck in terms of not having a charger. Now, with that being said, I don't think this would be as big of an issue, particularly if it's something that's a cell phone, or because a lot of Android devices have the same type of charger. But that is just one potential tech problem. Another is, let's say a student has a virus, they can't use their computer. It's also easier for students to go off task. Students would, their opponents of the BYOT initiative claim that students would simply just use it to text their peers, to get on the internet and use other apps like Facebook rather than doing their task. And it's difficult to monitor student usage that way. Those are personal devices, and so students would seemingly having some privacy issues in letting a teacher look at their device. And of course, if a student sees a teacher coming and they're doing something they're not supposed to, they're going to get off at the wrong side or the wrong area, and then it's hard to prove that. So, in my humble opinion, BYOT does have some advantages. It would save time and it would save money. The school districts, excuse me, wouldn't have to upload other information onto the devices. It would already be there because they would have their personal devices. And it would save money, obviously. I work at a school where we only have 60 computers for the entire school. Now, granted, there are only 200 students, but it makes using technology a little more difficult. So it would definitely allow students the opportunity to bring their own devices. We wouldn't have to worry about whether or not students have them because they would bring them themselves. And it would also allow teachers to assign work that can be completed at home. This is because we wouldn't be using apps or technology that's only on the students' computers at school, but on the devices that they have themselves. And I agree that it could increase student collaboration and engagement. This would allow students to work together in order to do a common goal. So more project-based learning would definitely be an option with BYOT. However, I think a teacher needs to know their students. Would I implement BYOT at my school with my students now? Absolutely not. We already have issues with my students using their technology anyway for things they're not supposed to do. And one of the things that we discovered that they're using, even Google. I try to use Google at school. And when I give them something that they need to do on Google Slides, they're going on the Google version of Facebook, basically, and texting each other and sending each other pictures while they're supposed to be working. If I let them bring in their own devices, it would be a nightmare. It would be a disaster. And I can see that already because I know my students. And that could be because they are 5th, 6th, 7th grade, and that's one thing to consider is the age group that you're allowing BYOT to be implemented in. So, huge potential for students to go off task. It's difficult to monitor. There's also the technology divide. There are students in my classroom who do not have access to a computer at home, whose parents do not have a smartphone. Or if they have a smartphone, it's only the parents. They can't regularly bring their parents' smartphone to class to utilize it. And teachers might be limited to certain apps, like I had mentioned with the Kindle. There are only certain apps that you would be able to utilize because of these different devices. Whereas if you had a set of computers at school, you would know what apps you could use because you would be able to pull them up on those computers. So everyone would be together. My personal opinion is that rather than doing the BYOT, it's important for teachers to network, try to get money, try to get scholarships so that you can have computers for the classroom and set up classrooms so that students are able to use the computers, even if you only have a few computers to share, and have divide your students up, and this is how I do it, and have your students, some work on a computer, some work on something else, and then they'll switch. Like I said, this is because I know my students, and there's no way I would let them use their own technology at this point. It would be a complete disaster, and it's just because I wouldn't trust some of them to stay on task. And I think even my students that do stay on task, it's too much of a temptation for them to go off task. Were they able to continually text their peers, or get on Facebook, get on Twitter, do things they're not supposed to do. So that is my review of the article and my opinion on the contents. Thank you.